Hello, I'm Kara, and today I'm here to talk to you about piglins and piglin bartering. I've actually had several ideas for different piglin bartering things or stations, but first I want to just go over some basics on piglin bartering in case you aren't familiar with it. The general idea is that you toss them an ingot and they look at it for 3 seconds and then toss you something back. I also found that you can toss them other things, like a block of gold or horse armor. And hey, there's a random one who came up from the wild. If you toss them these things, they look at them for 3 seconds and then shake their hand, and that's it. They don't give you anything. So make sure when you're trading with them, you're only using the ingots. Here, you can have one too. Alright, you can get a wide range of stuff. There's lots of videos out there that show you what you can get. I'm just going to toss this off. Oop, I meant to keep that. I started off my experimentations with making some simple piglin bartering stations here, and I started off using redstone clocks like this in order to actually time the dispensing so that it would always put out the gold ingot at the same time that the piglin's ready to do this next bartering. And this worked really well. This is a very basic design that's pretty good. And then I scaled it up to something, I keep falling in that hole, something more tileable and larger for more industrial scales. And this is also a great design. Some of the pigmen I see have despawned out of there. And we'll come back and look at this one again later. But in the meantime, I watched a video by Ngembom MC showing off his gold farm design for the snapshots, and it used a weighted pressure plate here so that when the dispenser was activated, it threw out a gold bar on the pressure plate. Then the piglin would pick it up, and that would cause another gold bar to be ejected. And you can see it here. The piglin picks it up and then shoots out another one, which for some reason it double fired there, but that's not really a huge problem. Anyways, he takes his moment to admire the gold and then do his trade, and then he picks up the gold from there, which then reactivates this torch, activating the dispenser or dropper. And the key to this, the genius of it, is that this is a weighted pressure plate. So every time that an item throws on there, it actually activates the pressure plate. Unlike wood or stone pressure plates, where the pressure plate is only activated by a mob walking on it. You can see that this design was less than perfect. Items fly out of there and don't land in the right spots or go up on top of here, which entirely stops this clock. But the idea was amazing. It allowed me to take out that redstone clock entirely and make this pigman the clock. So I then stepped up the idea here with some massive expansions and improvements. And with this one, it's the same kind of idea, except we've got two pigmen in here, so that's running at double the speed. 2 seems to be the magic number. You can stick 3 or 4 or 24 in there before you hit the entity cramming limit. But any more than 2 seems to overwhelm the ability for this hopper to pick up items and put it in the chest. So 2 is really the magic number. And you just have to push this button here, and it activates all the droppers. And you've just got one item floating out for each one of them. Now, if you're on a server and you want to reduce lag, you can certainly just come in here and pick up the items after it's activated for all of them except for that first chamber. And now you see you only have one gold bar floating there, and that's just one item as far as lag goes, which is pretty much nothing. The items down there are overflowing because these chests are overflowing. Alright, so there are a few changes and improvements, and the first obvious one was fully enclosing this area. But also these corner blocks right here are really important because without them, the piglins and baby piglins in the area will just run up here and steal your loot. And that's not good. What's the point of having a farm if you have all your loot stolen? I also decided to add on boots to all of them because these are Curse of Binding chainmail boots. They can be any kind of boot. The Curse of Binding was actually important here. So once they put them on, they can't take them back off. because you'll see here there's a bunch of boots in here, including Soul Speed 3 enchantments, and they're going to pick up whatever the best one of these is before the hopper can pick it up, and they're going to put it on. And so they're going to keep one of your best boots, which is going to end up being Soul Speed 3. So putting on Curse of Binding boots, it's not a big deal, it's totally optional, but it will make sure that you get all the best loot. We also made this thing tileable so it can be expanded out as far as you want. Quick note here about building materials. The glass is just representing any block whatsoever, and you can even use solid blocks. They're standing slightly in that block up there, but as you can see here with the lapis block, you can use solid blocks and it won't hurt them, it won't cause suffocation damage. This one block right here needs to be a solid block for this to work, but all the rest of this can be glass or whatever you want to use. Alright, now let's quickly take and build this up and show you how this works. So here's all the ingredients you're going to need, which you're just going to need one of each of those. You're going to need one of any block and then more of whatever your standard building block is. A double chest and a hopper for each one. So to start off, you just want to take and knock a 3 wide hole in the ground, place in a double chest with a hopper facing into the back of it. Now, around this hopper, you're going to put 1 block behind it and a 3 block high wall all the way around it. Now in this gap right here, you want to put in your solid block. On the back of the solid block, you want to put on your redstone torch. And on top of it, you want to put on your fresh plate. Oh, and absolutely important, this is a key to what makes this work. You need to put a carpet on top of the hopper. And the reason for that is that carpet is just 1 pixel thick. And if you see their heads sticking just 1 pixel up into that glass block, and that's what allows them to actually pick up the gold bar off of the top of the next block up right there. So if you leave out that carpet, or if you use a pressure plate that's not an either gold or iron pressure plate, then this whole farm breaks and it will not work. Next, we're going to take and walk over to the front and aim onto the top of that redstone torch and place a dispenser there, dispenser or dropper. If you have trouble with that, or that aiming, then you can always put up a temporary block there and place it against that block and break them back out. And then 1 more block above the pressure plate, and then the next step is getting the pigmen into the farm, which I'm going to go over a quick how-to on that later. For now, I'm just going to use some spawn eggs. If you do end up getting a baby piglin in there, which, there we go, you can just break out these front 2 blocks and they can walk out, but the piglins cannot walk out because they are just slightly too tall with standing on that carpet. Okay, now we've got our piglins in there, so go ahead and put a block on top, and then you just need a spacer block with 1 more on top of there, and break back out that spacer block. And if you stand right up against this block and aim at this first pixel, then you can place down a piston pointing straight down, and this is just a regular piston, not sticky, and then power that piston and it'll push that block down on top of their head. And the reason why this is useful is that gold shoots out and hits that block and stops, making sure that it lands on the pressure plate. Without that block in their head, then the gold will just shoot down, land on the floor, and get sucked up by the hopper. Right, now you can see they're not wearing boots, but if we take and put a pair of boots into the hopper, or 2 pairs of boots into the hopper, then when we activate the hopper, I keep saying hopper, dropper, then when we activate the dropper, it's just going to shoot that out, and you can see they picked them up and put them right on. Alright, and you notice I broke out that block and put on a button. You do this on the first one, and that activates the dropper there. Alright, now let's go ahead and build up the additional cells. And these are all the same from this point. It's just that first one that has a difference. I'm just going to do this part real quick. Hopper in the back, carpet on top. Alright, And this one you're going to do 2 glass blocks up in the back, or 2 of whatever your building blocks are, and then continue to do the normal 3 all the way around. Oh, one note here, if you do use solid blocks instead of glass, then you can't open this chest. So you can see here, open the chest, but you can always put in a half slab or a stair, and that will take care of it for you. And if you put in the stair from the inside, then you won't even be able to see it on the outside. So just a quick building note there. Okay, now you see this one doesn't have the pressure plate or redstone torch. You're just gonna put in a temp block there, and again from the front, place your dispenser down, and now you're all set. Now, still gotta put on the glass, and then get our pigment in there. Baby. No babies. Baby out. I love how he just runs right out of there very nice and quickly. Right, and then we get our piston back out and knock the block back down into their head. And boom, we're done with the second one. Now, what you need to do in between each one of these dispensers is take and put a block below them and a repeater pointing from the first one into the second one. And then if I want just 2 piglin cells, I'm done. If I want a third piglin cell, I throw down another one and put my repeater on it, and then my dispenser will be right here. The only differences between these, you know, the first one, the middle ones, and then the end one. The first one has the solid block, the gold plate, or the weighted pressure plate, the redstone torch on the back, and then this button to activate it. And then you have a repeater on the block pointing into the next dispenser or dropper. And then for everyone after here, you're just doing the glass there and a repeater in between, and the very end one does not need a repeater. Alright, we're back into my first testing world because I wanted to show you how you can really take and step this up from just having all these different individual cells that are all connected together with the redstone activation to making this all one active farm. So you see I've got underneath of here the minecart rail running through here, running over to a minecart hopper unloader, and that will unload everything out of the hopper that's collecting up, and then it could go into an item storage cell. And across here we've got hoppers on top of all the dispensers or droppers, and a minecart rail up here. So when I flick this down, it activates the minecart rail, sending it back and forth until I flip the lever back up, shutting it back off. And that's allowing the hoppers to take 1 piece of gold out of the minecart chest every single time it goes over top of the hopper. And it's going to go over the top of the hopper faster than our clock is going to run, so it's going to unload itself quickly. But this evenly distributes the gold throughout your farm very rapidly and all from a single input point. So it just makes it a lot easier to work with a larger farm. And this completely unloading everything for you and sorting it into an item sorter over here would make this a much easier and convenient farm to work with. So you can do something like I have on this example here if you really want to just up your game and take the Piglin Bartering stations to the next level. One note about doing this though, see how I have the rails fully enclosed? That's because these magma cubes and the baby pigmen would constantly get up on top of there or down underneath of here, and they would be stopping my minecarts down here, and then they'd get stuck and I'd have to go fix them. So it is definitely worth taking the time to fully enclose these in glass or whatever other building block that you would like. So that's really all there is to building this up. It's super simple and very, very easy, and it is its own redstone clock, so there's almost no redstone to do whatsoever, which is just why I love this design so much. Now, to get piglins in here in the first place, you need to just make a little loopy area of like minecarts here, and make sure you throw in a couple of power rails, and then stick on the minecart and give it a little bit of push. And let me grab my piglin spawn egg because they don't spawn naturally around here because I shut that off. Just when the piglin gets close to it, it's going to just automatically get caught up by this minecart here. Come on, get out of the minecart. There we go. See, now when that piglin gets close to it, the minecart just sucks it right up. And then you can flip that off and stop it. Break one of these rails here, and come on, break, place. There we go. And then just take it right up and drop them straight down in. And if you don't have this block here, then you can just swing your sword and break the minecart out from under it right there, which will just get sucked right up by the hopper. So it's super easy to get them in, and because they spawn everywhere, you can just get them in right around where you start building this. But then they're really annoying after that, so I do kind of recommend you make these floors out of slabs, unlike what I did, so they aren't spawning inside of your little bartering room. And then if you flip that on and give him a little nudge, he'll go spinning off and fly away. One last note about working with piglins is you can see this guy behind me, he's really mad at me. Oh, they hit hard. Yeah, I have a piece of gold on, and he loves me again. He won't attack me. So make sure you're wearing a piece of gold. That's all from me. I'll see you next time, and until then, have fun gaming. Goodbye.